Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's our topic is hardness of the rocks. But before discussing hardness of the rock, let's recall the previous lesson. That was the introduction of rocks. What are rocks? A rock is any naturally occurring solid mass or aggregate of the minerals. It is categorized by the minerals included, its chemical composition, and the way in which it is formed. Rocks made up of the Earth's crust. They made the Earth's crust. They can be of different color, size, and texture. Here are some examples of the rocks that occur in the nature. Earth's crust, which is the outermost layer of the Earth, is made up of rocks. The rock is made up of natural substances called the minerals. Natural rocks. A rock or a stone is a natural substance, for example, granite. A common rock like this, marble, limestone, are examples of some rocks found in the nature. Rocks has been used by mankind throughout the history. Man-made materials made from the rocks. Man-made material is one that is manufactured through human effort. These materials are usually made using natural raw materials. For example, man-made materials made from the rocks are glass, ceramics, concrete. Here are some natural and man-made materials. Natural rocks including igneous sedimentary rocks, which include the chalk, sandstone, limestone, slate. These are the natural materials. And man-made materials include the bricks, concrete, quartz stones. These are the examples of man-made material. Rocks have different colors and textures. They are made up of mixtures of mineral grains. Different types of rocks are made up of different types of mineral grains. Some, such as limestone, may contain fossils, which are the preserved remains of living things from the past. Hardness of rocks. Hardness of rock is a way of describing how easy or difficult it is to scratch the mineral. Hardness of the material is its ability to withstand the scratches. Here is a picture of some very hard rock. Rocks have different characteristics or properties. For example, they have different hardness and permeability. For example, some rocks are hard while others are soft. If a piece of a granite can scratch a piece of a marble, what does this tell you about the two rocks? Here is a picture that how you can find out the hardness of a rock in which one rock is scratched by the other. Granite can scratch marble, but marble cannot scratch granite. This shows that granite is harder than the marble. So, the hardness of a material is its ability to withstand the scratches. The hardness describes how easy it is to scratch the surface of a mineral. Scientists often use Mohs scale to describe the hardness. Using the Mohs scale, 1 is the softest mineral and a 10 is the hardest. For example, one example of hardness is diamond, which has a hardness of 10 because it is hardest of all the minerals. Here is the table of Mohs hardness in which is showing number 1 to 10, in which number 1 is the talc. It shows that talc is the softest material. And at the top, which has the hardness number of 10, it shows that diamond is the hardest one. As number is increases from 1 to 10, hardness also increases. This table will help you to understand the hardness of the material from 1 to 10. Now the question is, how do you determine the hardness of a rock? The hardness of a material is measured against the scale by finding the hardness materials that the given material can scratch and or the softest material that can scratch the given material. For example, if some materials is scratched by apatite but not by the fluoride, its hardness on the Mohs scale is 4.5. We use the Mohs hardness scale to compare the hardness of any mineral. The higher the number on the scale, the harder the mineral is. Here it shows that your fingernail has the hardness of 2.5, means if you can scratch a mineral with your fingernail, it is softer than 2.5. If you can't, it is harder than 2.5. Scratch test. What is the scratch test? Scratch hardness tests are used to determine the hardness of a material and its ability to resist scratches and abrasions. The test uses an object made of a harder material to scratch an object made of a softer material. Here are some pictures which shows that how you can use some ways to find out the hardness of a material. For example, by fingernail, by labeling, by a coin, streak test for color, and by the knife. Different ways to show to find out the hardness of a material. Here's an experiment for you. Carry out the experiment by taking 4 different kinds of rocks that are easily available and do scratch tests on 4 different rocks in which scratch the rock 1 by rock 2, 3 and 4. Find out the results by observing which rock got scratched on its surface and which did not. Observation. By the experiment, you have to observe that which rock was affected by which rock due to the hardness of other rock. And what's the conclusion? The rock which got scratched is softer, than the other rock which are not scratched by the others. Here is the video for you that will help you to understand how we can find out the hardness of a material and how we can find out which rock is harder than the other. Keep watching the video.
How can I determine the hardness or the ability of this mineral to resist scratching? It's the Mohs scale to the rescue. The Mohs scale of mineral hardness is based on the ability of one mineral to scratch another mineral visibly. The Mohs hardness scale was developed in the 1800s by Friedrich Mohs, a German mineralogist. Hardness is a measure of a mineral's ability to resist scratching. He selected 10 minerals of different hardness that range from a very soft mineral like talc to a very hard mineral like diamond. Mohs hardness is a measure of the relative hardness and the resistance to scratching between minerals. When doing the test of minerals, it's necessary to determine which mineral was scratched. Let's go through the Mohs scale. As you move up the scale, hardness increases. At number 1, talc. 2 is gypsum. 3 is calcite. 4 is fluorite. 5 is apatite. 6 is feldspar. 7 quartz. 8 topaz. 9 corundum. And then the hardest is a diamond. You can also use common household items to test for hardness. For example, a fingernail has a hardness of around 2 to 2.25. A penny is between 3 and 3.5. A nail, 5 or 6. A piece of glass, 5 or 5.5. A streak plate, around 6. And a piece of quartz, around 7. Let's determine the hardness of this mineral. First, it can scratch talc, which I know is at 1, so it's greater than 1. But it can be scratched by calcite, which has a hardness of 3. So it has a hardness of 2. This fact helps me identify the mineral using a simple chart as gypsum. If you'd like to know more about the Mohs hardness scale, this playlist will help. And as always, thanks for watching, and Moo Moo Math uploads a new math.
Here is a written work for you. Give some examples of hard rocks. Give some examples of soft rocks. How they compared the hardness of different rocks. Can granite scratch the marble? And some fill in the blanks.